Hello and welcome to this very special finale session of the 18th Hindustan Times Leadership Summit. I have with me today two supremely talented individuals, global icons in the true sense when it comes to cinema and music. Their awards are endless, their achievements are endless, need no elaboration. The fact that they just happen to be this beautiful couple only adds that dash of sparkle to the amazing people that they are. We are chuffed and honored that they chose Hindustan Times Leadership Summit to be the first Indian media platform that they are giving an interview together. In fact, this is his first ever interview to an Indian media house. Very, very delighted and honored to have with us Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
Thank you so much, Sonal. So nice to be here.
Nick, I have to tell you that Priyanka and I go back a long way, and one has seen the kind of crazy fan following that she has in India. She's a heartthrob. But I have to tell you that's the massive response we got, especially from the younger audiences and our readers when we announced that we have Nick Jonas with us for the Hindustan Times Leadership Summit. It was just outstanding. I think I have a newfound respect from the teenagers in my family. How does it feel to get this kind of a respect and adulation from your Indian fans?
Well, as you mentioned, I've never had the opportunity to do an interview with an outlet in India. So for this to be my first and for it to be with my lovely wife and with you is really special. So thank you for having me, first of all. And obviously this would be so much better if we could be in person, but happy that we found some way to connect and that I could be speaking to you and all the amazing people in India.
I'm really counting on Priyanka, you bringing him here someday so that we could have him again at the Leadership Summit in person.
I'm really counting on this pandemic, like just stopping and 2021 kickstarting normal so that we can actually travel. We had a big plan. In fact, during Holi, we had come down to India. We wanted to spend like a good 10, 15 days there. And then we had to cut our trip short and come back. So obviously India is my home, but Nick has a major love for the country and we really wanted to come in. So hopefully as soon as all of this is done and the world's back to normal, we'll be back in Mumbai.
Yeah, there's nobody who's not waiting for 2020 to get over the way the year has gone by. And Priyanka, therefore, my question to you, you mentioned the pandemic. Your heart lies in two countries, both the US and India at this point are really suffering when it comes to the crisis that COVID brought with itself. How have you, as a person, as a professional, as somebody who has families now in both the countries, been coping up with the crisis?
I mean, it's been one of the most difficult things to have ever happened to humankind. And I think we've very much recognized our privilege and we very much recognized the fact that we could stay in a space which kept us safe. We had the ability to stay in touch with our families. We had the ability to be quarantined. There are so many people in the world that don't even have the space to be able to do that, don't have the ability to get home, like the migrant workers that we saw in India. So it's been a really, really difficult time. And I feel like this time has really shown us also that humanity is resilient, and we've seen a lot of people step up and help and do as much as they can for their communities, for people that they can touch. We've done it. We've tried to do it ourselves. Give as much attention, time as we could to get the knowledge out there and to help as much as we can. And I feel like we'll come out of this together. We were in it together, but as a world, we're going to come out of this together because that's the only way to do it.
That's so well put, Priyanka. In fact, one thing in which you've been inspirational is the fact that I think people from the entertainment fraternity have been really itching and urging to get back to work, because you all know that your work generates employment to a whole lot of people who are dependent on the entertainment setup in general. And therefore, the fact, Nick, that you've been working through this pandemic, you recently got back into The Voice as a mentor. People are just too excited about it. I must tell you that this whole banter with Blake Shelton was hilarious. So the warrior is clearly not sleeping. How does it feel to be back on the show, and have you been shooting for The Voice of late?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be back. I started about a month ago and wrapped up in time to join Priyanka here in London to kind of get her set up in her world as she begins shooting here. But, it's a very different scene on set than it was on my last season, going back a year ago. The conclusion of my first season was during the sort of heat of our lockdown back in May. So to be able to come back and actually be on set again is a nice thing. And, everyone's taking the necessary protocols and taking this very seriously as you must, and it's not only about, your safety and your family's safety, obviously, but all the people that you work with. And there is, I think, a thing that we've spoken about, which is the fact that it can be done in a safe way. There's an exuberance on set amongst, everyone that's there and the different sort of factors of all the jobs and what it takes to make a show of that size and a film of the size that she's doing kind of operate. And it's great to see that we're able to be back on set. And I'm hopeful that I give Blake a run for his money this season, because he beat me last season, beat my team. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I get back to set in January, and hopefully everything continues to get better as far as the COVID of it all goes.
Sure. We are here on your team, Nick. As far as
Thank you.
Team Nick.
I need all those votes.
Completely. So you spoke about Priyanka also being busy with her movies, but why I was reading up on all that she has on her plate, and man, is that a full plate or what? Because Priyanka, I mean, there is just so much that you seem to be doing. Knock on wood for that, because it's amazing and exciting stuff that you have coming up. Especially January 2021 is going to be, I think, the month which belongs to Priyanka Chopra Jonas, because let's just count it out. There is you have the We Could Be Heroes. You've done wrapped up the shoot of White Tiger. That's also premiering in January. There's Matrix 4, of course. There is the Russo brothers. I think there's a Sony rom-com. There's the project with Mindy Kaling. First of all, how are you dealing with so much of work? I mean, what kind of a time manager are you, man? And please tell us a little bit about your projects.
I've always sort of never really planned my career. I've always recognized opportunities and sort of seized them and then figured it out. My team has to figure it out. We'll figure out dates. We'll figure out scheduling. I know all of them on the Zoom call must be laughing right now because they know how hard it is to do that. But I think it's really important to be able to, the only way I can do that is by having the support of my family, honestly. Whenever we have time even if we have a weekend or even if we have a week away from each other, we fly wherever, the other person is, so that we give each other that support. My mom as well, she's here with me in London. He's here. I think it's just really important to surround yourself by people that give you wind beneath your wings, so then you're not really thinking about burdens or stresses, and you can just dream big and follow that dream. And I've just always had the fortune of my family being that support for me, my father, my parents, my husband. And I just end up doing all the work, and then my team has to deal with scheduling.
Well, thank you, Nick, for being the wind beneath the wings of this girl who's made us so very proud on an international platform. Nick, the series on Netflix, Dash and Lily, you decided to use it. It seems like the quintessential, perfect, comforting teenage rom-com for the holiday season. What made you take up that script and sort of back it up as a producer?
I'm actively building out my production company right now. It's called Image 32, and we've got various projects, and this is the first one that's actually come out. And this was, kind of stemming from a relationship that I had with Sean Levy from 21 Laps. He and I have known each other for a long time, and he brought me the book first, Dash and Lily, and thought that it would be a good first step as a producer and an executive producer, and for me. And I was thrilled at the opportunity to get to work on the project. And it's kind of strange because when we filmed this, New York looked very different, and it was the sort of romantic, sensationalized version of New York City in the holiday season. And so to actually have that now in a time when it looks very different and the world's a very different place, I think is a really nice thing, and hopefully it brings people some joy. And it feels like the sort of perfect holiday binger on Netflix, and I'm thrilled that people are enjoying it.
I mean, I binged it during quarantine for sure.
Completely. I can, that's so totally understandable because it's actually, as I said, it's like having a warm blanket and having that
Yeah,
hot.
it's so cute.
Yeah, So Priyanka, he spoke about Image 32 and the fact that there are certain things that he would like to back up in terms of scripts. You've led the way, shown the way, especially when it comes to Indian heroines, Indian leading ladies in cinema who turned producer. I've seen you back regional scripts. I've seen Purple Pebble back quaint, small little scripts, which people would really aspire that a big time producer would pick up. What's been your criteria of choosing a script when it comes to being a producer?
I mean, I've always been very instinctive about all my choices, whether it's been as a producer, as an actor, or any opportunity that I align myself with. But the the reason why I started Purple Pebble Pictures was when I joined the film industry, and that goes for both in America and in India, at different points in my life. You know, there's always opportunity for the big guns. There's always like space for people who've been established, or there's always it takes a really long time for talent, whether that's in writing, direction, acting, to be able to get through the doors, and my company was all about giving opportunities to smaller, sort of more quaint stories. And that's how the regional cinema thing started. At that time, there weren't a lot of Hindi movie producers that were backing regional movies at that point. And I grew up all over India, so it was really a dream of mine. And also, my mother told me that when I turned 30, that at the ripe old age of 30, I might not have a career very soon. So I was like, you're right. And we started the company, and now today we're doing work in both countries and in multiple languages and across multiple mediums. And you take one step at a time. And the idea is to tell a story that moves you, and that is disruptive, that doesn't exist. My greatest joy with Purple Pebble is being able to create all South Asian cast movies and TV shows in Hollywood. Like, we haven't seen that very often, and it's really my quest to try and influx Hollywood with Indian talent as much as I can.
That joy is very evident when the both of you speak individually about producers and the kind of stuff that you take up. When it comes to original content and sort of backing it up, do you think the platform matters? Because the streaming platforms have sort of suddenly come over and taken over that traditional good old going to the movies, the big screen cinemas. At least here in India, there's this big debate about what's going to be the future. Is the OTT going to take over? Are the cinemas going to make a comeback? Are both of them going to stay? What's your view? In fact, both of you, I'd like to ask you, what's your view on that?
I mean, I think that we're in particularly odd times, when it comes to going to the cinema and just the ability to, so the streaming platforms have provided, a really great alternative for that experience, with the bigger scale movies and television programs, and then the smaller scale stuff. But I think there's certainly room for both. When life gets back to a version of normal, the experience of going to a movie theater, having your popcorn, your drink, and watching a great film is something that is so unique and just such a special thing, for just the whole experience. Now that can be created at home too, if you like, but I feel like, certainly when life gets back to a version of normal, I'm excited to go back to the movies. And she knows that I'm a sucker for popcorn and in the theater, so I'll be looking forward to that.
I think on my end, just we've talked so much about going to a movie in a theater and getting that tub of popcorn, and but I do think that streaming services are not going anywhere. That is a hugely essential part of the evolution of entertainment. And I think there is I feel sometimes like in India, we tend to think that streaming services are second best to theaters when it comes to storytelling. I disagree with that. I think that there is, of course, a romance and a charm to having a theatrical release, but I think there is an absolute necessity in having streaming services. I mean, for people who don't have television, and we've been to some, you and me. Places in India where people have cell phones and service, but they don't have TVs and lights. So a lot of people are consuming their entertainment on their phones or their tablets or whatever device they have, and that's going to be a streaming service. So I think it's intelligent and it's smart to actually get ahead of it and understand that this is a part of the evolution of cinema, and that we should be on the right side of it. And I definitely am. I find streaming amazing. I find that I love that my content is curated to me when I watch it as a viewer. And there's something really amazing about being able to create any kind of content and you know that there's going to be a viewership for it through a streaming service. So there's a power in that.
That's true, Priyanka. And in fact, your multi-million dollar deals with Amazon and CBS Viacom completely show your vision in that direction. And one's really hoping that that's kind of backs up a lot of original content which needs to find its way into people's homes, as you've said. And we can always resort to microwave popcorns and that dump in our living rooms.
We can have both. It doesn't have to be a choice. That's what I'm trying to say. When you want to go out for a movie and you want to watch the Simba of the world or the Avengers of the world, you'll go out to a movie theater and do the popcorn experience. And sometimes, you want to sit at home and watch a Dash and Lily or, like a really fun movie. And that's nice under your blanket with microwave popcorn too. So we don't have to choose.
That's true. There's space for both, as you've rightly said. Nick, the Jonas Brothers, brought a smile to so many people in these times of despair with the lovely Christmas track. I really have to ask you in terms of what was going on in your mind when you and your brothers were recording it. Beautiful song, beautiful memories that I'm sure it brought back into your life. So please tell us a little about the experience that you had with the track.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love Christmas music and holiday music. And my brother Joe sent Kevin and I the track that had been written by some friends of his. And, we write most of our own music. So when an outside song comes in, the bar is set very high just because we're so passionate about our songwriting and that process. And this song came in and was so brilliant. And I thought really kind of captured the feeling we've all had, over the last couple of months, and then going into the holiday season, what that means, what that looks like and feels like, and played it for her.
Especially the isolation this year. Like the first time you played it for me, I cried. Just not being around your friends and family. It was amazing.
So we had a great time recording it. Obviously, I had to do it from different places, and that was a unique experience. But I'm very, very happy with the result and thrilled that people like it. And, I feel like because I didn't write it, I can say I'm a fan of the song too, just because I love the songwriting and thankful that Joe sent it to us.
Yeah, I think it leaves you teary-eyed. Priyanka, you just said it for all of us. And in fact, whoever's listened to it, that's the emotion that it sort of brings forward. Amazing response it's been getting, and Nick, we would love to hear your music more and more, and with your brothers. We are getting a lot of audience questions, and we're getting bombarded with questions as we speak, and I'd only have the time to take a couple of them. So this one's from Monica for Priyanka, and Priyanka, Monica wants to know that you've been, there's a lot of good work, and it genuinely seems to come from the heart, and I'm sure that's how it is that you've been doing as the UNICEF ambassador. What significance do you think does an influencer have on a platform like that to sort of make a change, particularly to the cause that you've adopted, which is education for the girl child?
Well, I try and explain this to people very easily because a lot of people ask, like, what is the point of, actors or talent being associated with an organization that's doing such incredible work? So unfortunately or fortunately, the kind of media that is consumed is predominantly pop culture driven. And because it's pop culture driven, we are the means to an end. by taking us on a field trip, or by taking a public person who is from pop culture into an area that needs attention, people consume it a lot more.
Yeah.
So that is what our job is. Instead of spending every single day on paying jobs, what we end up doing is making sure that we take time out of our lives and bring attention to something that people are not paying attention to, and that is the power and the power of the platform. And there are people who use it, there are people who don't use it, and it's an absolutely individual thing. Philanthropy is absolutely individual. I believe that social responsibility is absolutely individual. From when I was a very young girl, I was made aware of the platform that I had, that I did have influence on people if I just talked about what is important to me. I can't change people's minds, but I can definitely bring an education and an awareness from my experiences. And that's what I strive to do. I really do think 50% of the world's population is female, and we are not given enough opportunities. We are not given enough rights. We are definitely not treated with, like when you look at the main jobs of running the world, whether it's in governance or whether it's in the highest corporates or CEOs of companies, we don't see women as much represented in the population of the world, and women in important jobs. So that is why the education and the opportunity for the girl child is so important, because eventually we have one world and we need to have our entire population represented, and females are such a large part of it. And I do think UNICEF does such incredible work for children's rights, not just for their education, but adolescent girls as well, and just child rights. And I've had such a privilege of working with them now for almost 15 years. So it's definitely an alignment that is very, very close to my heart, and I feel very passionate about. And I'm so grateful that I'm honored that my platform was chosen by them, to help take the message to as many people as I could.
Yeah. The joy with which you do it, Priyanka, is very evident when you sort of post pictures and videos of where all you've been going to these remote places across the world and sort of spending time with these girls. The joy on their faces itself is very, very aligned to your joy. And that basically proves the point that you just mentioned. I think it's at the end of the day, you're giving your precious time to them, and it means a lot more than maybe a whole lot of other materialistic things, perhaps, that some people.
Completely. And it's the least you can do, I just feel like all of us, my mom told me this when I was very young. She was like, no matter how badly off you are, someone else is worse off than you. You just
Yeah.
have to think about that every time you step out the door.
Beautifully said. Nick, the question for you actually is really nice, and it's come from Tara in the audience. Tara says that Nick has beautifully embraced a lot of Indian cultural traditions. Right from your wedding, of course, we could just see how much you were enjoying all the traditional rituals, to even these days when you put up those lovely social media posts about Diwali, about Karva Chauth, about all things that matter to us here in India. Tara wants to know if your love for Priyanka extended and into your love for India.
Of course. I've been educated quite a bit now, and loved that education, and met so many amazing people in my travels there, and had so many great experiences. In our 12 to 13 years of touring and working, we'd never made it over to India, the brothers or solo. And so it was really, I think, significant and special that my first trip was with Priyanka, and then we've been back many times now, and each trip has been such a great experience and full of so many great experiences. Whether it was Holi or Diwali, whatever holiday we're talking about, I've fully enjoyed it and eaten some wonderful Indian food. And I can't wait for my next trip.
So many laddus stuffed in your face for some reason.
Of course, yes.
Jiju has given many, many laddus.
Nick, we have a special place in our heart for somebody we call Jiju. I'm sure a load of Priyanka's cousins and sisters and everyone sort of using that term. Do you understand the significance? I'm not talking about just the literal meaning, but the significance of being Jiju to a lot of Indian girls.
Well, I think that Priyanka is the sister to the country in a way.
I have become the sister since you married me.
And then
I wasn't a sister.
I'm happy to be, sister's husband. So it's a beautiful thing.
It is a
And I
beautiful
just,
indeed,
and I think that the name was coined during our wedding. On social media, we suddenly started seeing National Gigi trending everywhere. It was so cute.
yeah, but you also broke 1 million hearts right now by saying that Priyanka has become a sister to Laura Opinions. Let me tell you, that's not really the case. But yes, the G here is going to be right. Priyanka, we're running short of time, but my team would kill me if I didn't ask you that when is it that so the White Tiger in certain ways in terms of caste it is Indian, but when is it that we would see Priyanka Chopra doing an out and out Desi film?
Oh, well, The White Tiger is an English language film with an Indian cast because the book was an English language book. So it's been adapted that way. I really want to do a Hindi film. The last one was Sky is Pink, which was last year. I'm hoping that I'll be able to do one in the end of the coming year. I'm in conversations with a few people, with a few amazing friends of mine. And we're trying to come together to make a really fun Hindi movie. So should be happening soon.
Do you remember the last conversation we had when you were here for The Sky is Pink and you said, figure out a rustic script where I could just play, a small town Indian girl. And that was, I think that was the mind frame you had at that time. So I'm sure.
Yeah, this is a slight pivot from that.
Okay. Yeah, but we keep our fingers crossed that happens. And is there a film of Priyanka's that you particularly like, Nick, that you watched and you've liked?
Oh, I've seen quite a few now. DDD and
Dil
Barfi, we
Dhadkne
just
Do.
watched. I loved.
Barfi, yeah.
But she's got what 70 movies, so I've got quite a few to watch still.
He has to
Quite the
catch up.
career.
Cash up, and all the quarantine time is going to help you with that.
Exactly.
We've come to almost the end of this session, but a really important question considering we are in the leadership summit. And, you're both leaders, undisputed leaders when it comes to art and culture, global icons, as I said. Nick, you've been, I don't think anyone would have understood leadership the way you would have had, because from the age of 7, you've seen this kind of, as I said, a massive adulation from your fans. And I'm sure even at such a young age, you've sort of developed leadership lessons or learnings that you may want to share with the audience. So if I were to ask each of you, starting with you, Nick, in terms of what's that one big lesson, leadership lesson that you would want to give to the young people who aspire to someday excel in their field, what would that be?
Fake it till you make it. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I would say, I'm really fortunate to have an amazing leader in my life. My father is an exceptional man with a wealth of knowledge. And, one of the things that he always said was to walk with humility, even in leadership. And to that effect, his quote was, live like you're at the bottom, even if you're at the top. And not to say at any point in my life or career, I felt like I was at the top, but, knowing that I have a responsibility in some ways to walk with humility and in success and in times when things don't go well, I think is solely from his influence in my life and leadership. So, I guess to sum that up, it's just to try to live as humbly as you can, because those same people that are there on the rise could be there on the fall, and it's good to have friends.
And that's really an awe moment. And this humility, Nick, let me tell you, comes through even in brief conversations with you. I've had very brief conversations with you at your wedding reception function and at a dinner party that we met up in. And even at that time, I got the same feeling. And what you've said is so beautifully put. And Priyanka has had a similarly big influence of her dad's on her life. And I'm sure that's also somewhere, that's the kind of a sentiment that connects the both of you. Priyanka, your leadership lesson or leadership advice to a young person?
Well, I mean, I would say something that when I started out, I was kind of thrown into the deep end. I didn't know the technique of anything. I come from, physicians. Well, my parents were physicians. Like there was no experience at all. So the one thing that I learned over there is be a student of life. We can't know everything. There's never going to be a situation if you want to achieve a trajectory which is upwards where you'll always be prepared for anything that you have to do. You'll never be 100% prepared. You just have to keep your eyes and ears open and learn and listen instead of talk. Just listen and observe. And if you're a student of life, your trajectory will always be upwards. I really feel that.
Beautiful message. Humility is the way to go, and learn and listen are the kind of lessons we're getting from Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra. Jonas, thank you so much, guys, for taking out the time to do this. It's been very, very special for us, and it's amazing that we got to talk to you. And we really hope to see you in person at another Hindustan Times Leadership Summit.
Thank you so much for having us, Sonal.
Thank you. Thank you. Delighted.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too. God bless.
Happy holidays to everyone watching as well.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you so much. On that note, we end this session. Take care. Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye.
Thank you.